Hey guys, this is gonna be the first video that I'm trying to make here. So a couple things right away. I'm gonna try some different whiteboards online that we're gonna try to record for you guys with these different examples. Maybe it's on some different websites, but we've got some options as far as what we want to be recording and how we want to do it for you guys. We're gonna try to keep these short. So right now, today, as you would have seen on your checklist, we're looking at a quick review of one and two step inequalities. I'm gonna do a couple examples for you here now so that we can look at kind of what we've seen already with this stuff and what you're going to have to kind of refresh your memory on in order for us to move forward. So if you remember, and hang with me here because I'm writing with my finger on a touch screen, so it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be okay. So we were looking at things like this: x plus 2 is greater than 6. Now, really, you can solve these just like you would solve your equations. What we kind of talked about in class was, all right, let's turn this into an equation right away. Okay, we talked about turning these into equations and then just solving from there. Subtract 2 from both sides. You're going to get that to cancel out, and then I've got x equals 4. Okay, now the inequality part, we then had you guys testing a value. So we would go on a number line. Okay, we had you going on a number line. For the sake of making this just simple here, this value of 4, we'll just make that our point right in the middle. Oop, maybe. See, I told you this is going to be touchy here. Our value of 4, we'll have that be right there in the middle. Oh, it's a little rough. Let me get those dots out of there. Let's get this back to working. Well, that's what we're going to get for now. And then we've got your 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, and we tested a value, right? So what was happening with the symbol and the dot, okay, we had that x plus 2 is greater than 6. When you have just a greater than or a less than, remember that it is going to be an empty circle. If you were to have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, it's going to be that filled in circle. Okay, so we're going to put, since it is just a greater than, we're going to have an empty circle on 4. And then we had you guys testing a value. Didn't matter which side you were looking at here. Let's say that we just want to test value number 7. So I'm going to take that one and plug it in for that x and see if this works. So 7 plus 2 is greater than 6. Is that going to work? 7 plus 2 is 9. Is 9 greater than 6? Yes. Since that is true, then that means that we are going to shade towards that value that we tested. Okay, we really wanted you guys to have that deeper understanding of inequality and knowing that where that arrow is going to go and what this symbol was going to be. Okay, this symbol down here, what that symbol was going to be was going to depend on where that arrow went. So since 9 worked, your arrow is going to the right. Okay, your final inequality that we started with way up here was just going to be now x is greater than 4, because going to the right, that means its number is bigger than 4. So x is greater than 4 would be your final answer. Now, when we're actually solving these things, I hope this works like a smart board. No, it doesn't. When we're actually solving these things, solving these inequalities, if you want to go a little quicker, okay, you can really just treat this just like an equation, right? You can treat this just like an equation. So if I've got 8 plus w is less than or equal to 14, really, you can treat this like this is already an equal sign. So in order to get this w alone, I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides so that it cancels out. My w is now alone, and that less than or equal to will remain that way so that w is less than or equal to 6, and that's my final answer. So really what we just did with that x plus 2 is greater than 6, where we tested that point, we just did the same thing in one step without turning it to the equal sign. You can do both of those. Where this gets tricky is when you multiply or divide by a negative, that sign has to flip. That's why we have you guys testing points, because we don't want to have you to memorize all that sign flipping, whether you do that or not. So what we are going to have showing up when we have two-step inequalities, I'll just kind of move this out of the way. What we're going to have showing up when we have two-step inequalities now is something like this. 2p minus 8 is greater than or equal to 10. Again, we'll kind of talk real quickly about getting a test point. So if you have 2p minus 8 is equal to 10, how do we get this thing simplified? How do we get that p all by itself? Okay, well, I want to get that variable alone. Something that we tend to want to do right away is we see this 2, we want to divide right away. We can't do that first. You have to remember that I have to get this 8 out of here, so I'm going to do the inverse of subtracting. It's currently a negative 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides to get rid of it. So now I've got a 2p equals 18. Excuse me. 2p equals 18 because that 10 plus 8 is 18. And now I finish with my final step by dividing by 2. And I'm going to get p is equal to 9. Okay, that's where you're going to set up now for your test point. So I'm going to have my number line. I'm going to put 9 right in the middle. Let's just do 10 and 11 over here. 8 and 7 back this way. Let's test a point on the other side this time. Well, first, remember, since it's that greater than or equal to, we're going to have a filled in circle at 9. It's at 9 because we got 9 when we solved for it. So now I'm going to pick a test value. I'm going to pick, let's do 7 this time just for the sake of going the other way. So that's what's going in where that p is. So 2 times 7 minus 8 is greater than or equal to 10. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 minus 8 greater than or equal to 10. And then 14 minus 8 is 6. Is 6 greater than or equal to 10? No, it's not. So since that is false, since the number that we tried does not work, it is not a solution, then we are not going to shade this way because that point doesn't work. So our line is actually going to go to the right. So your final inequality from this p equals 9 is going to be p, and then since we're going to the right with a filled in circle, it's going to be greater than or equal to 9. So this should be refreshing our memory a little bit. One more example. Whoops. Real quick, again, if you're not going to pick a test point, we can just be using this, and we're almost done, so hang with me here. You can just solve it like an equation as long as that negative is not involved. Negative 2 is less than negative 5 plus c over 2. First thing I'm going to do, I can't touch this c term until it's all by itself. So I'm going to get rid of this negative 5 by doing the opposite and adding. So that's gone. So now I've got 3 is greater than just this c over 2 left over. And then that c over 2 is c being divided by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to cancel it out for that inverse. I will end up with 6 is less than c. You don't have to have your variable on the left side. If you wanted to flip it, you have to flip the whole thing to say c is greater than 6. Either of those would work. So that's your quick review. Next would be you going and doing that Alex assignment, and then we'll work on getting these videos better and better and hopefully shorter and shorter every day. I hope you stuck out to the end. I know it got a little long, so thanks. We'll keep making this better and better until we get it right and get it more efficient for you guys, and we'll keep rolling. Hope this video finds you guys doing well, and hopefully you're a little bit excited to try something different with this online stuff. Talk to you later.